Hey there. Today we're going to talk about this pen. I'm sorry, it takes a little bit of time to dig it out. Joost Appelboom lent me this, and he said, "You're used to handling items this size." I'm not exactly sure what he was talking about, because I am known for preferring larger pens. So what could he possibly have been talking about? It's only about 2 inches. Anyway, this is, of course, the Wancher, I have to double check, PuChiCo. P-U-C-H-I-C-O. PuChiCo. And there's a lot going on with this pen, and I think I have a lot to talk about. It's tiny, but there are some interesting design choices that make it almost impossible to use for me, which is fine. Some people love it. It's not the size that matters, it's how it writes, I think. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample if I can. And then I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Alright, here we go with the PuChiCo by Wancher. €24.38 excluding tax, VAT. Comes in extra fine and fine stainless steel nibs, 65 millimeters before posting, and it is an eyedropper filled pen. So there we go. Comes in quite the box for such a tiny little pen, but there we are. Plastic box. I've just opened it up. Here are some what I assume are instructions, and then here we have some precautions. So of course English on the other side, which sounds great. And also in here is an eyedropper. I can't get it out. Sorry. An eyedropper, one of the standard eyedroppers. You see these with a lot of pens. And then in the bottom, I have to take out that foamy bit. It's not super easy to get out, but then there are some filling instructions. And I'll come back to the filling, because the filling with this pen is particularly finicky in my mind. So, sorry, I'm just trying to reassemble this box, put everything in, and not waste your time at the same time. See what I did there? Let's look at the pen. I'll put out my tiny one on the table there. And then here we have it next to a Pilot Metropolitan. So we are clearly looking at a pocket micro mini pen. Let's cover the parts of this pen. Wancher logo on the finial, which I think looks very nice. And then we have a clip, and the clip, it's a clip. It's fairly stiff, but not too stiff to be unusable. We have that ring system going on there. Now we have it's kept. There isn't an awful lot to talk about. It's not that much pen, is it? They come in different finishes, by the way. I do like this orange and black. It reminded me of Dolce Vita, right? Delta. I think I said that before. The pen unscrews, and then you have this, and then there's a cap which you're meant to post. To give you an idea, so here is the Pilot Metropolitan cap. So you're really talking about a tiny pen, right? Yeah. So there's an O-ring in there. There's a tiny section and what looks like a number 5 nib. This is a fine nib. I'd find it hilarious if this had a number 8 nib, but they wouldn't be able to fit the cap, obviously. So number 5 nib with a feed. Looks like a plastic feed. It's nothing fancy. It writes nice enough, I will say that, pretty good. This is what it looks like unposted. I can't write with this. And then you can post it. You have to really push that cap on there, and then you have something that I can still not really write with. It's so small. But there we are. What else was I going to say? Yeah, eyedropper. I'm not going to open this up. I will talk about the eyedropper process and likes and dislikes, because the construction, you cannot actually fill up this entire barrel with ink. But I'll get to that. Let's let's see how this pen writes. And I am sorry, I used a yellow ink. I know it's not your favorite for reviews, but I'll make sure there are pictures on the website. It's Lamy Mango, and I always have the feeling that one shows up well enough on camera. There are some yellow inks that are just too light. I feel that this one with proper lighting that I think I have now is not too bad, but if it is, then let me know and I won't do it again. I'll be a good boy. Now, definitely feedback. Wouldn't call it scratchy, but it's not a super smooth nib. But I mean, it is a fine nib, so I mean, there's going to be some feedback. Again, not scratchy or anything. Nice thing I found about eyedroppers is that they have a nice big reservoir that does not end in the tiny nipple that a converter ends in. So I found that many eyedropper pens actually have really good ink flow, and you see that here, like even going fast, it does pretty well. Yes, there was something there that could have been a misalignment. Let me make sure I align the nib properly. We'll try that again. Okay, here we go. It doesn't really run dry, so I mean that's nice. Wetness, it's not bad. I got stuck on the pen a bit, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Line variation. Naturally, there isn't that much. It's not a flex nib. As always, very careful. You could put some pressure on it. And you can squeeze out some, but it's not meant to do that, so that's your own risk. Reverse writing, for those of you who enjoy such a thing, is not possible. I mean, again, I personally don't think this is a fault. Nibs are not meant to write that way. As you can see, it gets too dry. You can't read the writing. Maybe that would be a little bit better with a darker ink, but I mean, I think this ink is legible enough, so that may be an issue if you really like doing that. But it's usually to make the nib finer anyway, and this is already a pretty fine nib, I would say. So I wouldn't say, by the way, I don't know exactly where they source their nibs. I wouldn't say this is one of the like Japanese fine is Western extra fine. I wouldn't call this an extra fine. I think fine is exactly how I would classify this nib. Okay. There you go. Let's not to make it feel inadequate, but let's talk about some likes and dislikes. What do I like? What do I not like about the PuChiCo? You have to give credit where credit's due. So there are a couple of things I really like. There are different finishes. This orange, it's very Delta-esque. It reminds me of Delta, their Dolce Vita pens, which I've always liked a lot. The orange here is translucent. It's hard to show you this, but holding it up, there's a window over there. Holding it up, I can see the ink level in it, which is quite neat. That would be easier to see if I'd used a darker ink, but you can hold it to light, you can see how much ink you have, which is great because there's no ink window and it's an eyedropper filled pen. I have to say, anything that is coming next should be taken with a grain of salt because the pen costs less than 25 euros without tax. Or don't forget, click the Applebaum banner on my website, you get 10% discount. I mean, you're talking about an inexpensive pen. I know there are cheaper pens. Every time I say this, I'm like, oh, but there also are pens from China and they're under $10. Yes, I know this is not one of those pens. This is a different pen. Don't worry about it. As pens go, from the same brand, I mean, this is very affordable. Wancher also have pens that cost hundreds of dollars. This is not one of those pens. So, I find it unfair to harshly criticize something that is that affordable. If this were a $100 pen, I would be a bit firmer in my words. But there are a couple of things I should point out. I'll start off with things I like. So, it's affordable. I think it looks good. I already said that. Other finishes are neat too. This orange material they have used, I really think it's very nice. I like that translucency. And overall, I like the idea. I like the idea of making a tiny pen that I can barely hold it, but people with smaller hands might be a bit easier for them. I like the idea of them posting something to not waste any size, so that the utility really comes from posting it. I still can't hold it. Like I have to cramp up my hand to be able to write with this. But I like the idea. People love cute, tiny things. They do. Ask me how I know that. No, but I mean, they do. And I'm serious. People like tiny versions of things. And pocket pens are a whole class of its own. And this is more than a pocket pen. This is a micro pen. So I like the idea, but there are a couple of issues that I have, and I don't think those are all particularly subjective. So first of all, the posting works, but you have to push down quite hard on that cap, otherwise it'll come off. And given the shape of the pen, the way it's set up, when the cap comes off like that, I caught it, which is a miracle. Of course, you can't write like this. This being rounded off, it's not super stable. Again, it can be if you really push down on the cap, and then it's really fine. But I would say, if you're going to make a pen that relies on posting for its utility, I would probably put threads on the barrel. Now, there are people who are going to disagree with that because they say it would look less nice. I get it, but I hate to break it to you, there isn't that much to look at because it's a 2-inch pen. So there we go. I get it. For me, the biggest issue, for me the two biggest issues, the posting is one thing, but again, if you push down hard enough, it's not really an issue. You just need to know that first time you use it. There's two issues that I have with it. One is, creating a pocket pen is one thing, creating a micro pen is something else. Now, I don't think that a lot of people who have hands like me would gravitate towards a pen like this. But for people with small hands, it could be fun, it could be cute. I think it's too small. I think there is a physical limit to how small a pen should be to be usable. And this pen is below that limit. It's too small, or it exceeds that. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's too small at this point. My bigger issue, and that's the biggest issue I had, I think I can fairly say this is an objective problem, is you get a barrel, you get an eyedropper with the pen. That's cool, especially for the relatively low price of the pen that they throw in an eyedropper. I think is neat. So you can fill it up straight away. But then I thought, as I do with eyedroppers, you fill up the barrel as far as you can. But you can't, because inside there's a nib collar. It's a number 5 nib. The feed needs to go somewhere. The nib needs to go somewhere. So this nib collar comes down to about that point. I'm tapping here. So really, you have this much ink in the barrel. The rest is all nib unit. Is that a problem? Well, yes, because I didn't fully think that through. I droppered the whole barrel, looked at the nib unit, and thought I should probably pour out a little bit of ink. Did that, put in the nib unit, and still the barrel overflowed completely and there was ink everywhere. Now, that's probably because I'm particularly stupid, but the concept doesn't really work. Making a micro pen is one thing, but to lose that much ink capacity to the long, normal sized nib unit kind of detracts from the function. Because I think there's maybe a milliliter of ink that fits in there. Without that nib unit, I know it's not possible. The nib unit has to go somewhere, I get it. Without it, I was getting up to about 2 milliliters, which is very, very respectable. Consider that a standard international cartridge holds about 0.7 milliliters of ink. But you can't get there because the pen will not close properly because it's just too big. The nib unit is too big and it squeezes out all the ink. So there is ink in it, and 1 milliliter is respectable. It's respectable. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's just so much going on that I just don't like. I hate it. It's not the fault of the pen. It's a good idea, and I like what they try to do, and I love the way it looks. But this is not for me. I've spoken. No. If you have one, please let me know how you enjoy it, because I know there's people out there who are like, oh yeah, man, 2-inch pen, I love that. So tell me how you like it. I wouldn't buy one for me, but I can absolutely see the appeal of this. People want a little small, it's cute, but there we go. Thank you so much, Joost, for lending me this. I really appreciate it, and I felt pretty good about myself looking at it. So there we are. I hope this was useful. Sorry. And I'll gladly see you later. Bye!